Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me today.
I'm happy to be here.
It's
Thank
so
you for having
exciting. You're welcome. It's so happy to see you outside in this beautiful weather we're having right now in this area. I know you're not you're in Pennsylvania. I'm in New Jersey, but it's similar weather right
Right.
now. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, your business, and where you're located?
Oh boy. Okay. My name is Elisa Maggio. My business name is Touch the Earth Healing Arts. I'm originally from New Jersey. I grew up in central New Jersey in Branchburg, but I currently live now in Revere Township, Pennsylvania. And I am an artist. And
Yeah. So
yay.
so tell us about your art practice. What kind of stuff do you do?
I started out in 2005. I just moved home. I lived in New Mexico briefly, and I
Oh,
7.5 years.
dream. I want to live there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild experience. And in 2005, I took a women's workshop on getting to know yourself through like survival family archetypes of Carolyn Myss. It was kind of like a little heavy duty, but it was perfect for the timing of 2005. And I learned a technique where you paint by hand, you paint by touch, you paint actually with your non-dominant hand. So that's kind of like where my art showed up again in my life.
Yeah.
And I started to paint by touch, and it was just the workshop was really cool. I made 13 paintings, and then someone said, "Oh, you should write a book about the experience." And I wrote a book about the experience.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so I self-published. The book won an award in 2016, which was really cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, so the book's called Sacred Heart Soul Art, and it's like a little paperback, but it gives the story of what it was like to paint by touch. I threw like some childhood things in there, like what it was like growing up. I grew up in central New Jersey, beautiful garden-like community, and then just kind of like what I've been doing with my life since the art returned. To me, it's been like a gift to have the art back in my life.
Yeah.
So I, from there, painting by touch, jumped into painting with everything but a paintbrush.
That's the best.
Because all my art is, most of my art is abstract. I paint with my emotions. So, like when you're changing, things are happening in your life, you're transitioning, I turn to paint. I turn to acrylic paint. And so that's mostly what my art is on the websites that I have hosted out there in social media land.
Yeah. They're so beautiful. And you have ones that like almost look like kaleidoscopes, like some of your cards that you make, or those prints that you have are so cool. How do you make those?
So I had so painting through the painting by touch thing, and then somewhere along the line, I met this other artist who suggested I check out this company called Shop Vita. They're out of San Francisco. So I designed for Vita, started in 2016, and I had ordered a piece that I printed on their product line. It got here, and it was mirror imaged on the top for some reason. I don't know how that happened. In fact, they weren't even offering that as an option. You can do that now. So I'm looking at this thing going, what is that?
That's not my piece.
That's not part of my painting. How did that get there?
That's so funny.
Oh, I'm a crazy person. I'm not very technology savvy. And so I called a bunch of people and said, how do you mirror image, and how do you flip, and how do you create that kaleidoscope? So a good friend of mine that lives in California, my friend Annette, she literally on the phone talked me through Photoshop. On the phone we did it. She was like, click this, click that, click this. Yeah, so that's how the cards got started. That's how I learned how to use that Photoshop feature.
Yeah.
And from there, I just work intuitively, so I got guided to create the deck. And it's a deck of 36 cards. It's based all on my art, one side, and the other side of the is based on like characters that we are in our life. So some of the cards are named like Fairy Godmother and the Medicine Wheel, the World Tree. So I work with lots of different, what am I thinking of? Kind of not really cross cultures, but different divinities.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to anyone specific, but I like like all traditions. So the cards really kind of cross lots of traditions, and you can use them for meditation. You can use them if you're like, if you want to know what kind of day you might be having, you could pull a card and say, oh, this is what kind of day I'm going to have. Cool. Or maybe I'll work in this direction of working with being a wanderer, or I remember all the card names, but anyway, so that's kind of where the deck got established. And so that's how all the colors and the kaleidoscopes got created.
That's awesome. I want to get a deck from you, because I think that I respond to lots of different traditions and spiritualities as well too, and I find so much meaning in everything all the time. Like, but having like a card reading, or just, you know, my friend has been doing readings, tarot card readings through her Instagram every day, and just like 3 numbers, and like you just pick the number in your head that you feel connected to, and like every time it's been so what I needed. Like I ascribe to that like mentality so much. It's so helpful to just like ground you and keep you fluid, and when there's beautiful art attached to it, it's like, I'm sold. Like,
yeah, that's cool. Thanks. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And actually, when the deck showed up energetically and it said, you know, the guidance to make it, then I made it. And then it was like, well, how do I pair the words and the art together? And I just like said a word. Okay, who wants to be the world tree? And in my mind's eye, I got an image from one of the cards. And I'm like,
That's
okay,
awesome.
You're the world tree. It's like they raised their little hands.
Yeah.
And they said, I want to be that. I'm like, okay.
That's so cool. I love that. And I think a lot of artists can relate to that kind of notion of like being inspired that way intuitively and with your mind's eye, of like, when you have a vision for something, you see it so vividly and it's just like clear as day. Like you can't fight it. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So what is your favorite part about what you do in your business?
Wow, let's see. I started initially, I'm like, well, making art is my favorite part of it.
Yeah, that's a given. Hopefully.
Business. But I had to really think about that. I was like, what do I really like about my business? I'm like, oh, I get to be home.
Yeah, that's what so many people say.
I love working from home. I couldn't figure it out. How can I work from home? I would hear people that they work from home, and I'm like, But, you know, I don't necessarily belong to any like large company, and I wouldn't be able to. That's just not who I am. I mean, my very first career was as a teacher, and I did that, you know, I was going to say 9 to 5, but actually we were there a lot earlier than that.
Oh yeah. So it's more than that.
Yeah, more than that. I mean, I think the students, because I was mostly elementary and sometimes middle school. I did do high school. I did all grades actually, because I was a special ed teacher. And so I would get there like first thing in the morning, sometimes before the custodians, and they used to like yell at me, you know, or I would be there and they wanted to go home at night. Elisa, it's time to go home. So funny. So you know, that I didn't mind, because my classroom became like my home, and it was really important to me the way everything was set up. But now that I don't have to do that anymore, yay!
Yeah.
I also like making my own schedule.
Yeah.
So see, when I was teaching, I would just show up at 7 a.m. and sometimes leave 7 p.m. And other teachers would yell at me like, Elisa, it's going to be here tomorrow. Go home. And I'm like, I don't know. I really can't. So,
yeah.
But I did, obviously.
Right.
So being home and getting up when I want to get up, like sometimes I get up at 10, sometimes I get up at 1.
Yeah.
And it's not that I was like staying up late the night before. I'm just like, I feel like I'm catching up on sleep, but I didn't realize how tired I was.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I hear you. I feel like that is one of the best parts of running your own business from home. And I think that there's so much self-awareness that happens then when you are able to set up your own schedule. And especially as a creative person, like if you have a creative business, like being reactive to your body and your schedule and your life in how you make things is super important, because I think that shows in what you make. And if you're, you know, forcing the issue or making something because you feel like you have to, you know, the energy of it isn't going to be great. It's going to feel, you know, not inauthentic, but just like not what it could be, you know? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Working with deadlines is just not something I do anymore.
Yeah.
I find it really challenging when there's a deadline, or even just getting ready for like a show, or when there's like a weekend art show, which I hope, you know, they'll start being able to have them soon. I don't know how though, because they draw large crowds of people.
I know.
But you know, that all of that will, change for all, will be changing, is changing for all of us, and just finding ways to, the other really cool thing for me I've been able to do is, because I live in a wooded area, is I can listen now. I can spend more time listening and tuning in and creating from my heart and soul, which is what my art is mostly about.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, and I have like beautiful birds around me, and like the ones you're in the background now.
Yeah, that was like perfect timing. And they're like, hello, we're here.
Yes, hello, we're here. And so I've had the best time with it. Okay, everybody has something to say now. All right.
They're like, we didn't get the memo. We were supposed to talk. I love that. So what kind of advice do you have for people wanting to either move their creative energy into like a more sustainable business, or just starting a business in general, or working from home? Any of your expertise, what kind of things do you have to share on those?
Oh, wow. Yeah, so let's see. So 2008 was when I shifted from that teaching career to the more your time is your own career.
Yeah.
And it took a long time. Yeah. So be patient.
Mm-hmm.
Trust your intuition. It is challenging. Well, it can be challenging. It'd be like swimming upstream, basically.
Yeah.
So if you could just take your time, trust your intuition. If you're highly creative like I am, oh boy, and that's your strength. Being highly creative is your strength. I think for me was a godsend, was joining a networking group. So I actually joined my local chamber 3 years ago. Yeah, I joined Central Bucks Chamber of Commerce, and the people in the chamber are amazing. And especially if you're a new business, they have tons of like support and people that you can talk to and ask questions of. There's tons of support out there. Just ask a lot of questions, and don't be afraid to ask, and don't feel like the questions are stupid, because none of them are, because everybody's been through them already. So just be patient with yourself, keep balance for yourself, make sure you keep making your own art. If you are, trying to put yourself out there as an artist, I'm not saying paint every day. I don't paint every day. I balance that out by the other things that I do in my life, but there's some kind of creativity happening every day, but it's not necessarily always with paint.
Yeah, I think those are all amazing points. And I think that there's a lot of energy in the creative world right now of like building up your practice and trying to do everyday challenges. And it can feel overwhelming, especially if you just can't get yourself to do that. And like, I've started countless 30-day art challenges and like can never finish them. It's just not my thing. But I can crank out, like, I don't know if you saw my post a couple weeks ago. I made 18 giant cardboard rainbows in 2 days. Like, that came out of nowhere. And it just like, you got to just be responsive to whatever feeling you're having creatively. And I think that those kinds of challenges are good if you have a block or you need something to get you going. But yeah, if you're like, I think you and I are similar in that we're brimming with creativity. We don't need much to keep us at it every day. It's more of a, what day can I take a break maybe?
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, like, for example, that storm we had a couple days ago, just going out, I went out with an umbrella. I mean, maybe if I'd known there was lightning, I probably wouldn't have gone outside, but I didn't know it until I was out there when I saw lightning. But it wasn't a ground hit. Thank God. It was more cloud to cloud.
Yeah.
But I didn't stay out there that long. But I found out this like creative opportunity. All of a sudden I heard, go outside. I'm like, okay. So I grabbed my umbrella and I ran outside and I filmed. The painting I just made got washed away, and then it seemed like a perfect opportunity to like create a meme out of that, or a story out of that. Like, when things are unexpected, because the storm came up. I mean, we got a warning about it, but you never know, like, when it's going to rain. It doesn't actually start raining at 2:11. It might, but
it takes some time usually.
Yeah, it takes its time, and depending on when the wind and all the other changes around here, I spent a lot of time during the pandemic outside, literally, and I'm pretty much a homebody. Like, I like being inside normally, but if if I had to say a challenge, I kind of challenged myself to be outside in the garden, and I spent time getting to know the woods that I live in, and the trees, and the environment, and the birds. And now it's like first thing in the morning, all I want to do is go outside. I can't wait to be out there.
Yeah, that's the
So
best.
yeah.
I know it's been fun to kind of find the new normals of what we can live in right now and appreciate them for what they are. And yeah, whenever it's a nice day out like today and I'm not outside, I'm like, what am I doing? I need to get out there and like do something. I don't want to waste it. I don't want to waste my time not being out there. I agree. So you kind of were getting into it, but yeah, how have you pivoted during these times because of the pandemic and the world that we're living in?
So I, as a business owner, my business for Touch the Earth Healing Arts, it actually has, that was interesting, three kind of like umbrellas. So I'm an artist. I also teach what I'm doing, the art that I'm doing. I teach it to other people for relaxation, for meditation.
Yeah.
And then I also take care of animals. So I'm feeding myself through those three businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited because I have a big pet sit coming up for 2 weeks at the end of June in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. I can't wait to go. And I'm excited to see the animals again. Being away from them for such a long period of time was really hard for me because it really like brings me present, brings me home to be around animals.
Mm.
So what I did pretty much in March, I am a labyrinth facilitator. Learned that last summer. And so I have my own little portable labyrinth that I set up in the yard in March. And that's pretty much what I do every single day is I walk the labyrinth and I make art. I actually call it soul walking. It's another thing I teach.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I've been doing. And I guess I really got the opportunity to see that I can have an art business. That's something I learned. I can put all the pieces together of what I created in my life. So I was a teacher for a very long time. So why would I throw that out the window?
Right.
I absolutely love teaching.
Yeah.
So then it was finding a way to say, you don't have to be an art teacher. So I don't have a degree in art. I didn't go to school for art. I went to school for early childhood education, but I'm not going to get rid of all of the things that I learned. And even, after leaving teaching 2008, I went into the wellness world, and I learned massage, and I learned how to take care of the human body and how do we support ourselves, essential oils. And I mean, there's so many things of skills that I've learned. And the whole time here walking the labyrinth, because it is a problem solver for me, I realized, well, why wouldn't I put all of those pieces of all of those jobs that I've learned in my life, why wouldn't I put it all together now?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so excited about that.
Yeah. Oh, that's the best. Can you give us a brief summary of what a labyrinth is? Because I don't really know what it is entirely. And I don't know many people that I know that might know what it is. So teach us, tell us what it is.
Okay. So it's actually behind me on the lawn. I can pick it up a little bit, but it's probably might be hard to see only because it's made with plastic yarn. But so labyrinth, basically, first thing I have to say is not a maze. A labyrinth is a meditative walk. So they're usually circular, or sometimes they're squares or rectangles. It can really be any shape now. And labyrinths are very old. They're very, I want to say they're old, but they're very, they're sacred geometry. And they've been around for many centuries.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And usually labyrinths, the other cool thing about labyrinths that it's not a maze is there's one way in typically and one way out. So you're not going to go in part way and then there's a door going to block your way and you have to figure out how to get around the door or go through the door. The labyrinth is typically one steady path in, and now labyrinths can have two entrances, or, so if you're getting married, you walk in one way as an individual and walk out as a couple. It's kind of cool the way the labyrinth community has really evolved.
Yeah.
There's something called the Labyrinth Society, TLS it's known. It's also on Facebook, and you can go and become a member of the Labyrinth Society. And also there's labyrinths around the world. So labyrinth locator. So you can locate labyrinths in your community to go walk them.
Wow.
There's a labyrinth in Doylestown near one of the museums, and you can go walk it any time. But when there's ones that are like people's homes and things like that, you probably have to get permission.
Yeah, probably don't show up in their backyard.
Yeah, don't show up in people's backyards. But yeah, you pretty much can walk them anywhere. A lot of times they're in parks. They're for unity, for community. They're like, so for example, my labyrinth then is has a meander, so it kind of winds around the trees. And then it also has its own spiral, because spiral is one of my sacred geometry that I work with a lot. I used to doodle them all the time. You're supposed to be listening in class and you're like doodling, and I would always doodle spirals.
Yeah.
So I thought it was so perfect that I actually have one now. I learned last summer all about more of the history at Labyrinth School. It's an organization out of San Francisco, and they travel around the world and they offer classes, although right now they're online. So, because of being around other people. But yeah, so I went to this really cool program last June and for a week, and learned all about the history of labyrinths, and then how to build labyrinths and create them and design them and that sort of thing. So I came home and I said to a good friend who crochets mats for the homeless, I said, can you make me some circuits? And she went, what? So I gave her a little bit of history of what a labyrinth is, and she created some crocheted circuits for me. So they start out as they look like big balls of yarn, but they're plastic yarn. They're made of plastic grocery bags. So the whole thing's recyclable, and when I'm done using it, I can recycle it, which is what I like. That's so really important to me.
Yeah.
And so it was good for my pocketbook, because I, at the time, didn't have the funds to buy a canvas labyrinth, which is a lot of times the way the transportable ones are.
Okay.
And churches have them. There's a labyrinth in Chartres, France, which is kind of like the mother labyrinth of all, and the Chartres labyrinth. And a lot of people go there for spiritual. You can also walk it for spiritual reasons too. But it's a walking meditation. Some of them are paths of life. Some of them, like I said, you get married on them. They really are just unique sacred geometry that if you wanted to add something to create something a little bit different, in your practice, start walking labyrinths.
Yeah, that's so cool. Thanks for sharing all that. That's really educational and enlightening.
I hope it made sense. Sometimes I start talking about them and then
no, it does. It does. And I think it can be a spark to have people research it if they want to learn more. So that's helpful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So how can people best support you right now in these wild times?
Well, I'm hoping I would love to obviously have people come up here and walk the labyrinth, but I guess for now, my goal is to try to do some online classes, which is, technology, not technology savvy, but learning to make videos, I guess. And if you can, buy the art, because it just really wants to be with other people. It loves me and I love my art, but it's not a but. It just, there's art in the yard. In some of the pictures you'll see, I'm started making something called garden art. And it's really just, it wants to be with other people. It has something to say. All my art is really bright and very bright.
Yeah, they're so beautiful. And I realized the pictures that I picked to post of yours, I unintentionally picked all these blue colors. So I don't know if that has meaning to you or if that's something that you typically, because you use a lot of different colors, but I was drawn to all your blue pieces for some reason.
Well, that's a good thing, because blue is actually, if you're in the chakra world, blue represents throat chakra. So if you're feeling like you need something to say, like right now, blue is the perfect color for a lot of people, because we're all speaking our truth. We're expressing ourselves. So blue, that gave me a good idea. So probably more art will be coming out as blue, because I think that's the way I can support. Support. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
More blue and green. Well, green is heart. So blue and green, maybe earth colors.
And then mix them and you get teal, like my hair and like the bust.
That's right.
That's so funny. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I'm so happy to finally meet you and just appreciate you and your energy and you know, being a part of my 2 markets now. I feel like a little pioneer in the online market world, but it's so fun to have really unique people like you be a part of it.
Oh, thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah. So we'll be in touch, friend. Have a great rest of your weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.